Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sega Does episode 40. Wow.
40
episodes, Dylan.
I know. I mean, that's a lot of jabbering on about Sega stuff.
Well, some of that Sega stuff has been good, some of it has been bad. But today, we're generally talking about quite a positive subject. Today is our Sonic Spectacular episode. I've been waiting for this for a long time, Dylan.
Yes, and in honor of the Blue Hedgehog's 25th anniversary, that's why we're doing this, just in case anyone's like, what? You're not up to Sonic yet, which is true. We're not. But we're going to be doing some reminiscing today about the influence this hedgehog has had in my life and Sam's life, and talk about various games and games that are good and many that are unfortunately not very good. That's it. That's Sonic.
It. Sonic all the way. Now, we're going to be talking about kind of every single Sonic game, but kind of not. We're just going to go from the beginning, work our way through, see which ones stand out to us and see which ones don't. Now, for those of you who do not know, Sonic the Hedgehog original release date was on the 23rd of June 1991. Amazing.
Yes, and that's in America.
Yes.
See, most of the time games would come out in Japan first. If they were released in Japan, they'd come out there first. But this actually came out about a month later in Japan.
Yeah,
Sonic
July
did.
26th, I have.
Yeah.
It came out on June 23rd in Europe as well. Which is, I can't quite believe that, if I'm honest, but apparently it did. So, Sonic the Hedgehog. Dylan, I think you're a bigger Sonic fan than me. It sounds like Sonic hit you pretty hard as a child. Why don't you give us your account of your first interaction with the famous Blue Hedgehog?
Yeah, so in the Christmas season of 1991, I received a Sonic Genesis pack. It was the Genesis with Sonic as the pack in, and I don't know. I'm assuming I asked for it. I don't know. I mean, I was 6 years old, so I don't remember much, but I doubt my dad saw that and just knew he had to get it for me. I'm sure I bothered them both about it, my parents. So anyway, I remember hooking it up to the TV and playing it and dying repeatedly on the first Robotnik battle, like constantly dying there.
Okay.
I don't remember when I passed it, but I remember just sitting there and thinking I was having the greatest gaming experience of my short little life at the time. And I did have and I had a Nintendo at the time, so it wasn't like I had been playing games, but I wasn't very good at them. No. Let's face it. So eventually, though, I did manage to. I don't know if I ever beat it as a kid. I definitely beat it when I got older.
Right.
But I think I got to the last zone, which was Scrap Brain Zone, I think.
That sounds about right.
Scrap Brain. I got there. I just never beat the game until I was like a teenager. But that was my first encounter with Sonic. Very young age, and I don't know. I could go on. I really could, but I want to hear about your encounter, Sam. Your first encounter.
Sonic over here, I would say, it was as big here as he was all around the world. My first encounter with Sonic was really with the cartoon.
Okay.
My first console I actually had as my own was a Super Nintendo, but as in the wonderful land that is Great Britain, Sega was like the leader, the main guys. The Mass System was massive, and the Mega Drive was no exception. The first encounter I had with Sonic was my buddy had Sonic, and we used to go around and play a lot. I think the first Sonic game I ever actually played was Sonic 2, because I distinctly remember him always making me play as Tails. I was going to say Knuckles, but it wasn't Knuckles. It was Tails. I was like, I don't want to play as Tails. He always made me play as Tails. And yeah, but the cartoon and Sonic as a character, was more like where I come from. It as a game, I never really got into it until probably around like Sonic 3 and Knuckles was when.
And people, oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
People think that kind of Sonic cross-promotional stuff started kind of recently, but really,
no.
Sega's been doing that since the very beginning.
No.
They were super smart about it. And unlike Nintendo, their cartoons, while not like the best thing ever, were far superior to those terrible Mario Brothers cartoons.
They were terrible. Even back then, we had I think it was the Super Mario Brothers 3 cartoon, because you guys had the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, didn't you? And that was the one with the horrible like live action Mario and Luigi.
Yeah,
now,
so bad.
We didn't have that live action bit. That was completely cut out. And I never even knew that was there until it appeared on Netflix. And I wanted to show my son, hey, guys, come on, look at this. I used to watch Super Mario Bros. Super Show. And I turned it on. There was these like two like over middle-aged fat guys walking around talking about plumbing and pizza in terrible Italian accents. I was like, what is this? This is wrong. This is not what I watched. And then all of a sudden it cut into the cartoon and off it went. We didn't have that. So that was really interesting to me. But anyway, that's Mario. We're talking about Sonic. Yeah, the Sonic cartoons, and there was not just one. There was, now you guys categorize it in a different. There was Sonic AM, and then Sonic Saturday Morning or something. Are there two different cartoons?
Yeah, the two cartoons. There was Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog,
right?
And that was a Monday through Friday.
And was
deal.
That the one that was more based on the game? It had Scratch and Grounder and Robotnik, or was that the Freedom Fighter one?
Oh, the Freedom Fighter one was the Saturday morning.
Right, that's right.
But I would argue that neither of them were really based on the game that much.
Yeah. But I mean, in terms of like the one that has all the like, you would class as a 90s more of a 90s cartoon, had like, you would see like the ground and the background was like you'd see in the game. You'd never see like a post-apocalyptic. Well, you kind of would, but you know what I mean. Like there were scenes, there were items from the game. There was enemies from the game in the Saturday Sonic AM cartoon, rather than the other one was like a. Oh,
it was very dark and not funny, really. Like, no, or it didn't really try. I mean, like it did kind of like with Sonic a little bit, but it mostly was more dramatic.
Yeah, it had like a Fern Gully kind of vibe, like protect the forest and keep the animals safe. And
it was exactly. And that kind of coincided. The Saturday morning cartoon kind of coincided with the comic. The comic here had the same characters that were in that show.
Was the comic a big thing?
Huge. Well,
really?
Okay, huge to me as a child. Okay. I don't know how big it was, but I think it had quite an impact. I mean, to the point where it's still being produced here today. Like,
really?
Yes, it's the longest running video game comic ever, and they're still making new issues, and it really took on a life of its own. I think particularly when Sonic as a series kind of died down, because we'll get to this later, but after 3D Blast, there was no real Sonic for 3 years. No. Like, which is a huge chunk of time when you compare, like, Sonic had seen a release every year, like and in '94 there was Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. Yeah. So, they were pumping them out for a long time, and then Sonic Extreme, which was supposed to be the Sonic game, just never developed, never came about. All that being said, I think the Sonic comic really sustained Sonic fans during that time, like diehard Sonic fans. And, I don't know, I couldn't say what the readership is today. Like, who reads the Sonic comic? I don't know, but I see them still at grocery stores and stuff. It's not like you have to go searching for them. They're out there, and widely available. There's also Archie Comics is the manufacturer of those, and they also do a Mega Man comic book that's supposedly good. Yeah. And there's been crossover Sonic X Mega Man. So it's very interesting, and if I was a kid, I'd be all over it. But
that's crazy.
I definitely enjoyed the comic, back in the day.
Should we ever listen to some cartoon themes?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, I can't remember which one this was. Let's have a listen. Man, I'll buy that now. That sounds awesome.
That guy, the singer, I don't know his name, but man, he really belts it out. You believe it. You believe that Sonic is the fastest thing alive. That's the Saturday morning.
Yeah.
The more serious cartoon.
There was another cartoon after the fact that came along a few years later. I can't remember exactly how many. This is one I really got into for some reason, and I always wondered why Sonic's brother and sister were never in the game. And that is Sonic Underground. Do you remember Sonic Underground?
I remember hearing about it when it came out, but I want to say it was only on cable, and at the time, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. I had cable growing up as a kid, but when my parents split up, we moved to my grandparents, and they did not have cable, much to my chagrin. And so I never. I think Sonic Underground is on Netflix now, but I haven't had the. It's almost like I just don't. I don't want to see it because I have a feeling it's just not.
Well, this may. I mean, the cartoon I don't think is as good as Saturday Morning Comic, but maybe I'm going to take a listen now. The theme tune is actually better than that.
Okay, all right.
Are you ready?
I am.
Seriously, if you hear me singing in the background, I apologize, but it's fucking awesome. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Triplets born, the throne awaits. A seer warns of a deadly fate. Give up your children, separate. Bide your time, lie in wait. Sonic Underground, Sonic Underground. They made a vow their mother will be found. The children grow, learn what's right. Leaders of the freedom fight. They seek their mother, she knows they do. Is it time? If she only knew. Will the prophecy come true?
Key change.
Sonic Underground, Sonic Underground.
I long for my children, but I have to wait. To act too soon could seal their fate.
They made a vow their mother will be found.
Cool is that?
Well, it kind of sounds like the guy from Disturbed.
It is.
Oh man!
Take that, Mario. Mario.
Yeah.
Who?
That isn't that bad.
The cartoon's not that great, but it went down a really weird story premise, which had actually been pretty cool for the game. It had a brother and a sister, and the mother like abandoned them, and they were like inherited the throne. And it really like wow, it's like just as in depth as Saturday Morning Sonic, but yeah, it's great. Anyway, we should really be talking about the games. So that's where we came from in Sonic. Dylan more on the game side and the comic, me more on the cartoon side and the cereal and the chips and the pizza and the hats and the gloves and everything had Sonic on it. It's brilliant. Anyway, the first game Why? What made it stand out, Dylan? Why was it such a like, bam? This is why you need a Genesis.
Well, as a 6-year-old, I was just drinking the marketing Kool-Aid, right? I mean, Sonic he had a great look to him.
Yeah, he really did.
And of course, with the Nintendo, I mean, I loved my NES, but when I saw those delicious 16-bit graphics, I thought, I'm like, oh man, look at that! Look how rich those colors are, and
the grass is green.
The grass is green, and the water is blue, and Sonic is blue himself.
He goes around in a circle.
Right, like they really emphasized his speed, which cracks me up now because when you play
it's not that fast.
It's really not that fast at all, and there's only moments where he goes fast.
Yeah.
But it's funny because as a kid, those moments are enough.
Yep.
At least for me, there was enough to be like, yeah, Sonic is too cool, and he, the whole attitude thing, that was supposed to be his thing. I never really thought, I mean, yeah, you could see it, but that wasn't really why I was into him. I was just into him because I liked his design. He, even today to me, he's like the rare mascot that I don't want to punch in the face. Like,
until he opens his mouth.
Right.
They always give him a stupid voice.
No, that's true. Now they do.
Yeah.
At the time, though, he didn't. And
you want a chili dog?
that one bad. That's pretty good.
Actually, I do like his voices in the cartoons because they were voiced by the guy who did Urkel.
That was right.
But they weren't as annoying as Urkel. Like, but you could still tell it was him. I don't know, it was just interesting. So yeah, I liked his overall design, I think, and he was very sleek and felt very modern, whereas Mario almost felt quaint. Like when Sonic came out, like all of a sudden Mario was yesterday's news.
Yeah,
it really felt like an overnight shift in my brain, even though a year later I got the Super Nintendo and loved Super Mario World and Super Mario Kart.
Yeah.
But as a character, I still always preferred Sonic, for sure.
Well, one of the commercials that we found actually does a pretty good comparison job. It's I'll just set the scene for you. Obviously, this is an audio thing, but you can check this out online. There's a kid. You're in a kid's perspective, and you walk into a store, and there's the storeman, the shopkeeper guy's there. He's trying to sell you something. He's really trying hard to sell you Super Mario on the Super Nintendo, and but your eye, as the person in the commercial, is drawn towards Sonic. Amazing how the camera does it, and but it's also drawn towards the price, whereas the Genesis and Sonic was $50 cheaper than Super Mario and Super Mario World and a Super Nintendo at that Christmas '91. Was it '92? That was $50 cheaper. Anyway, whatever Christmas it is, that was another big selling point for Genesis and the Sonic, the fact that it was cheaper. And it did look, to the untrained eye, much faster, much slicker, and much more value. So let's have a listen to that commercial.
Hey, guy, you're the first serious gamer I've seen all morning. Check this out. Brand new 16-bit Super Nintendo with Super Mario World. Wow!
What's this one?
Oh, this is a Sonic the Hedgehog from Sega Genesis. Hey, look at these radical colors, huh?
Wow, Sonic's fast, too.
No, over here.
I like Genesis, and it costs a lot less.
Wait, kid, that game
I'll
there.
take Sonic and Genesis.
I knew that.
Sonic the Hedgehog. More action, more speed. Sega Genesis, it's all.
So there you go. It's just the ad campaigns and the way they marketed it was pure genius, and it worked perfectly.
It did. Now, it sounds like you were kind of in the same position I was, where I followed the 16-bit wars, but I was never that kid who was like, oh, Genesis is better or Sega's better than Nintendo. I liked them both.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say equally, but I didn't see why people felt the need to say one sucked. I mean, I guess, granted, I just did admit that I had both systems,
there you go.
which does help. But at the same time, I even back then, I don't think I would have been like, oh, Mario's stupid. It's like they're both great for different reasons. So
Sonic the Hedgehog, the first one came out and it was a massive success. But that success was dwarfed by Sonic the Hedgehog 2. This really did cement from my friends. I mean, that number 2 with Sonic and Tails sat at the bottom of it, I swear it's burnt into my eyeballs. It was everywhere. It was a massive deal. Released on Sonic Tuesday on where are we? October 16th, 1992 in Europe. We have November 17th, 1992 in North America. That's interesting.
see, I'm getting mixed things here. It says the game was released worldwide on November 24th, 1992. So looks like
oh no, I'm looking at the Master System version. That's where I'm getting wrong there. There, no, you are correct. Apologies there, Sega fans. Dylan has corrected me again. November 24th worldwide release. Sonic Tuesday, that is correct. Shut up, Sam.
the only reason I'm looking on Sonic Retro, and that's why I was just like, well,
no, you are correct.
Yeah,
you are correct.
So,
do you remember Sonic Tuesday?
I probably do. And it probably was it was right before. Well, I shouldn't say it was right before. Yeah, it must have been right before Thanksgiving. And I know I rented it right around the time it came out. We had a Blockbuster right near our house, like literally a few minutes up the road. And I remember begging my dad, please let us get this before Thanksgiving. Because, I mean, can you imagine like having this on your Thanksgiving break? Oh, come on. So, had 4 or 5 days off. And the first night, okay, so setting the scene here.
Okay.
When I got the Genesis, I couldn't beat Robotnik. The first Robotnik battle, I couldn't beat him for hours, possibly days. I can't remember. The first night I had Sonic the Hedgehog 2, I beat up through Metropolis Zone, which was
that's a long way.
Which was I want to say like the eighth
yeah.
zone?
I was going to say 7th, 8th, somewhere around there.
Yeah. And I remember that was like wearing me out, and like it, of course, Metropolis Zone was also the only zone to have three acts.
That's true.
And by the time the third act came along, I think I had lost all my lives, and it's like I have to stop for the evening because that took a while. But yeah, it was I was just blown away by this game yet again. Just a fantastic Sonic game.
Very long Sonic game for a game that still didn't have saves. It was a long game.
Yeah, and I think that was why people really had a hard time with it. Because if you go back to it today, it really, I mean, unless you just have a hard time with Sonic games, they're really not that difficult. It's just if you're playing them on original hardware, saving is not an option. So I think there are codes though, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there are level skip codes and stuff like that. I was showing my my younger brother-in-law the other day. Actually, I got into one of the glitch menus where you can get into debug mode and you can spawn. You know the like the contraptions you jump on at the end of the level to let the animals out so it finishes the level. Well, there must be a trigger in the actual plunger that says when this plunger is triggered end level, because I could just at the beginning of any level you can spawn one of these contraptions, put it down literally a la Mario Maker, put it down anywhere you want and jump on it, and then it triggers the end screen and then you go on to the next level. It's crazy.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
I messed with the debug. Is that the debug menus? Okay, yeah, I messed with those a little bit, but this is going to sound silly, but I always felt like I was messing with the purity of the game. I didn't want to I know it's weird, but
you're a good little
a good little consumer.
Yeah. Good boy. We don't like people. And you've never emulated a game in your life, have you, Dylan?
Oh, no. I pay for everything.
For everything. Yes. No, I'm pretty sure Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is the first Sonic game I played. I just remember that 2, that 2 with the iconic Sonic like checker pattern in it everywhere. Every time a kid would walk past me in school with a magazine under his belt, it'd either have a Mortal Kombat symbol on it, or it'd have like this Sonic 2 with Robotnik like peering over the top of it. Just it's such a fantastic piece of art. Really is good.
Yeah, no, it is. It's amazing, and it's still one of my favorite pieces of box art today. I mean, it's so recognizable, and it's aged well. Yeah.
Next, we're going to talk about the next Sonic game. Let's see if you can guess what game we're talking about by this bit of music we're going to play, Dylan. Sonic was just freaking awesome. The original Sonic Boom. We are now talking about Sonic CD, people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Up until, I think about 2006, there was a massive groundswell of people saying, this is the greatest Sonic game in the world ever made. A Sonic CD. You can't buy it anywhere. You gotta play it on Sega CD, and it's amazing. All you people that don't have it, you're assholes. But when this game actually came out for like Xbox 360 and PS3, everyone's like, Ashley's been naff, isn't it? And that kind of groundswell's kind of fallen away.
Yeah, fun fact, I actually purchased a Sega CD a couple months ago. Woo. And with Sonic CD, and after getting over my initial disappointment, because I played Sonic CD on the Sonic Gems collection for GameCube, and thought, this is what everyone's been raving about for the last decade and a half. No, not. I didn't see the brilliance of it. But that being said, playing it recently, I don't dislike it to the extent. I mean, like, it's still, I wouldn't call it my favorite by any means, and I don't know how it got to that point where people were just raving about it, but it's an okay game. And I really like the soundtrack, and I really like the ideas going on. You can't get any momentum ever. Like, you can't in this game. Like, you can't the level design is so weird and like off. It's like you have to go, in some instances you have to go forward in time, in other instances you have to go back in time, but you never feel like you're very stable ever in a level. I don't know what you sound like. You're not too big of a fan of this game either.
I liked it from a geeky tech perspective, because it was on a Sega CD. They had a bit more screen real estate to play with, and the actual the aspect ratio and the size of the screen, there's more pixels, so there is actually technically more room for you to move around. They kept Sonic the same size, but the amount of screen you have to move around in is bigger. So there is actually technically more room. I know it doesn't feel like it, because Sonic CD makes you, more than pretty much any other 2D Sonic, makes you jump around and actually platform and find like hidden exit secrets, ways to go to the future, to the past, a lot more than like usually they were just, oh right, go left to right and you're done. But Sonic CD was a little bit different, and it kind of showed the inabilities that Sonic had for the first time. Sonic, he ain't that great at jumping, which is odd. And he ain't that great at attacking enemies. So quite how he made it through 2 games this far, I don't know. But he did. And Yeah, I mean, the big thing about it was, oh yeah, you put it in your Sega CD and it's got a really smart intro animated, which that animation is really quite nice actually. Even today, it looks, the scale and everything is pretty. It's very Japanese, but very nice.
Yes.
1993, we have September 23rd Japan, October 93 for Europe, and November 19th 1993. It just always smacks to me like, alright, so you, for like a year you had your Sonic team working on this game for this peripheral that's coming out. I don't know, would their attention have been better served somewhere else, you know?
Yeah, well, it's hard to say because, you know, Sonic 1 was big, Sonic 2 was bigger. So now, I mean, the amount of Sonic games released in the first few years of the 90s is crazy. So you've got Sonic CD in 93, Sonic Spinball in 93, Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, which isn't really a Sonic game, but, you know, it's a Puyo Puyo game, but, you know, it's there. Sonic Chaos on the Master System in 93, Sonic Chaos on the Game Gear in 93. You know, there's just so much Sonic happening right now. Yeah. And which is awesome, which was awesome for Sonic fans. But I don't know. I think as an experiment, it was fine. Because 93 was really a stopgap year between Sonic 2 and Sonic 3. Yeah. And then later Sonic and Knuckles, you know. Which, let's be honest, Sega split those two in half, right? I mean, Sonic 3 probably was about to have like a bajillion zones, and they were like, you know what? We could make twice as much money if we separate. And then, but see, they made it better by making Sonic and Knuckles like one of those lock-on cartridges, which is just a brilliant idea.
Which also worked with Sonic 2 as well.
Right. And so it unlocked Sonic 2. It unlocked more of those special bonus levels in Sonic 1.
Well, I mean, the official line was Sonic the Hedgehog, as it was supposed to be Sonic the Hedgehog 3, was going to cost too much to put on one cartridge. Now, I don't know how much of that I believe. I can believe it, because those two games together are huge.
Yeah.
Massive games, and they look... I mean, Sonic 1 to 2 was an upgrade in graphics, but Sonic 2 to 3 was a massive jump in graphics. The amount of animation and stuff that's happening in the backgrounds alone, the extra, like the way you can spin around vines and extra little doohickeys that are happening here, there and everywhere, the different abilities of the enemies to be able to throw things at you, get caught in them, in nets, in like sticky bits of things, you can get stuck on things and you can fly on walls, and there is so much happening in Sonic 3. It is my personal favourite Sonic game, is Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Yeah. It's definitely the one I've played the most.
Really?
Growing up. Yeah.
Right.
I really liked that it was only 6 zones, because I could beat it fairly quickly. But I mean, it like you said, it really was a showpiece for the Genesis.
It really was. And the music was fantastic.
Yeah.
Famously, supposedly, it was done by Michael Jackson, which is now, I think it's pretty much confirmed that yes, it was done by Michael Jackson, but he got 60-70% of the way through doing the project and went, actually, I'm not happy with how this sounds. Keep the music. I'm going off to make even more money. Just don't put my name on it.
Right.
And at the same time as this came out was his first court case as well, so that everything kind of happened really like in Sega's favour. It's like Michael Jackson kind of went, nah, I don't want to bother with this anymore. But also at the same time, all the money that they had paid him, and they were like, they wanted to use his name, then they had a good reason not to use his name. So he kind of like distanced himself and left all the work he'd done. It was kind of fantastic for Sega, really, in a way.
Yeah, it was a happy accident for sure.
God, to imagine a Sonic the Hedgehog with music by Michael Jackson written on the side, just that is the most 90s thing that would ever have happened. I think if the world had ended then, that would have been like the peak of humanity, and we would have all it'd have been fantastic. Do you not agree?
That's just funny. Oh boy. So yeah, Sonic 3 and then Sonic and Knuckles at the time and even now I feel like they were, like you said, it was too big of a game, but Sonic and Knuckles, even it had a different feel to it.
It did.
Than Sonic 3. Sonic 3 felt very light and upbeat, and whereas Sonic and Knuckles to me just had a darker feel, and maybe it's been a long time since I played either
No,
of
you
those.
are right. I got the same feeling. You are, yeah.
Yeah. So putting them together was like, holy crap, this is like an amazingly epic adventure.
Yeah.
But there's nothing really in Sonic and Knuckles that stands out from Sonic 3 that I as far as like there wasn't a huge upgrade in graphics or
No.
music quality. It was just
cool
more,
being Knuckles though, flying around and grabbing on things. That did add. I'm surprised they never like just took that and put a different sprite on it and made it a different game. You know, with a completely different character. Because I'm pretty sure there's quite a bit of tech going on there, and just used it for this kind of its own game, but kind of an add-on, and then never used it again. Was like, wow, somebody spent a lot of time getting, and it worked really well as well.
It did. Yeah. Yeah, it was a good game. But Sonic and Knuckles arguably is where Sonic's peak ended.
Yes.
In the mid 90s.
There's one more side-scrolling game I'd like to mention, which is Knuckles Chaotix, which is the only entry on the Sega 32X. Why this isn't a Sonic game, I don't really know. They kind of tried to use Knuckles to introduce Sonic fans, all of the three of them that brought the Sega 32X, to a load of other characters, including Vector the Crocodile, Espio the Chameleon, Charmy Bee, Mighty the Armadillo. Wow. Which I'm pretty sure Mighty was actually a runner-up in the contest to actually create Sonic.
I think you're correct. And he, I believe, was in Sega Sonic the Hedgehog, which was an arcade game.
Right.
And if it wasn't Mighty, it was someone that looked a lot like him.
Okay.
Yeah.
The characters themselves, they did kind of fit into the Sonic universe, and I didn't actually think they did a bad job of creating other characters that go in the Sonic universe. They never really used them, though. Because once they came up with them, Sonic kind of took a little bit of a hiatus.
Yeah, and have you played Chaotix?
I have many, 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 many years ago. I can't really remember it.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I can't speak of any authority on it. I have played it, but not to memory.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm just the same way. My cousin, who was a huge Sega and Sonic fan, got a 32X when they were, being sold for peanuts at Toys R Us, like $20 or something, and brand new. And he got Chaotix with it, and I remember we were both playing it. Like, what is this?
It's a very strange, like tag team tandem sort of thing, isn't it? It's
yeah, and it's just very surreal, and not that interesting dynamic. Yeah, not that good. Interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like it's
Knuckles.
It's Knuckles.
Yeah, it's kind of a douchebag now. Anyway, so next, like the Sega Saturn kind of just like fell out of Sega and was a thing. And Christmas 1996 was rolling around. And there was supposed to be a game which was codenamed, and we never know if it was actually going to be called this, but it would have been a pretty good name, of Sonic Extreme.
Yes.
There are various prototypes of this game floating around. One is on like a field and he's just running around in 3D but in like an isometric view. And then there's the famous one which is like the fisheye lens where he's rolling around in the mazes. Both of them look terrible. So it's kind of a good job that it didn't happen. But I can't remember his name, but I've read a 50-page manuscript from apparently the guy who was coding Sonic Extreme. And Apparently, he took it to show some Sega high ups. They walked in the room and said, "This is get rid of it. We're not releasing this," and banned the whole project. And then Sonic 3D Blast became the game that came out on the Sega Saturn and the Genesis that year.
Yes. Which
was rubbish.
Well, I don't hate it as much as some people, but it's fine. Like, to me, it's fine on the Genesis. Okay, the Genesis is on its way out in '96. The Genesis is
it's
on
quite
its way
impressive.
out.
Yeah,
right, fine. But I remember as a kid seeing it on the Saturn in place of anything else and going, it looks the same.
Yeah,
they didn't do anything. I mean, maybe they cleaned up the graphics a little, but it was depressing. And it was the first time that it kind of signified to me at the time that it was like, yeah, Sega doesn't know what they're doing with the Saturn. Like, even as a 11, 12-year-old kid, I'm like, no, this is not good.
No, it's kind of like seeing like The Last of Us running on a PS4. It's like, really, guys? You weren't ready for this, was you? No.
Yeah.
It was odd. And like you say, graphically, it was quite impressive for the Mega Drive. It was, for people who don't know, it's like an isometric, pre-rendered 3D thing where you run around, you collect a load of birds, aren't they? Flickies.
Yeah.
And then you got to flick them into like a ring, and you get combos and things like that, all clever stuff. And it's just not. It controlled awful though. It was terrible.
Yeah, it was hard to see, like, when Sonic had to hit an enemy, it was hard to see, like, if it was at the wrong angle, it was hard to see how to actually jump onto them.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you just get hit, and the rings would disappear even faster than they would in regular Sonic games. So it was. I don't think I've ever beaten it. And I like what Sonic Retro has to say about it. It's at its core a spiritual sequel to Flicky, the old Sega arcade title, and that's true, because
and the SG-1000 game
and the SG-1000, terrible game. But yeah, it's it is. And when I didn't realize that until I played the original Flicky, I'm like, oh, this is a lot like
Sonic 3D Blast.
Sonic 3D Blast. And it was called Flicky's Island in the UK, which it wasn't called that here. And that name makes a lot more sense. But understandably, they changed it in North America because Flicky's Island would have sold peanuts. I'm sure it didn't sell that well anyway.
No.
Called Sonic 3D Blast. But
I don't know. I bet it sold quite well.
You think so?
Yeah.
I'm not finding any like sales info beyond like the first couple of Sonic games, but
I bet it sold pretty good. Now, there are two other 3D Sonic games to talk about before we get to the Dreamcast.
Okay.
There is Sonic the Fighters.
Oof. Yeah.
Which was an arcade-only game, but you can now, I don't know if it's still up there, but you could buy it on the PS3 or the Xbox 360, which is a god-awful 3D fighting game, which is just terrible. Absolutely terrible.
You're more familiar with Sega Fighters than I.
Yeah.
Is that more of...
It's nothing
of like nothing. Fighting Vipers?
No.
Is it more...
No, it's just terrible. I think they based it around the Fighting Vipers engine, okay? But the way they did, like, put the models in the game, you can't tell if you're hitting, punching, throw. You can't tell what your character is doing. The models are that bad. And the heads are huge. Big heads.
Yeah, the heads are way, way too big. Yeah.
So that was one of them. And the other game, which did see a release on the Sega Saturn, is Sonic R.
Which is another nail in Sonic's coffin in the mid-90s.
It's like, oh, we're finally going to get our Sonic game in 3D. This is going to be fantastic. Oh, it's a racing game? Oh, it's awful. It's just so bad. That was a 1997 release.
Yeah.
Now, there is a compilation disc for the Sega Saturn called Sonic Jam, which I believe has Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles on it. I think that's it.
Yes,
but
that's
what
right.
it does have is a 3D environment for you to run around in and select the games, which is really good.
Was it good? Because I've never actually played Sonic
Yeah,
Jam.
it was actually quite graphically like, wow, you could have made this a game. How did you like give this to a team of 3 people and they made a menu out of it? And you guys spent 3 years trying to create a freaking game and you couldn't do it.
Wow.
It was Sega in the 90s to a T.
Yeah.
It was a mess. Anyway, so basically, time between proper Sonic games goes from... Now I've lost it now because I was talking about Sonic the Fighters. It goes from Sonic 3D Blast in November 96 to Sonic Adventure November 27th, 1998. And then obviously, famously, October 14th, 1990... Oh no, sorry, September 9th, 1999. Obviously, 9999 in the States. So 3 years, guys, between proper Sonic games.
Yeah, and if you want to, I mean, if you don't consider Sonic 3D Blast a Sonic game, which I think there's an argument for, you could go back to Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and say that was the last one. And so yeah, Sonic Adventure, which at the time of its release was hailed as a return to form.
Oh boy, howdy!
Which even by magazines who are like EGM, who are notorious for not taking bribes and not, they didn't.
Something happened.
I just think people wanted it to be so good.
The screenshots look so good.
Yeah, and there was a story and it was epic, and you could play as all these characters, and
it was funny because back then, like, you never saw video of anything unless it was in like a commercial or or something on G4 TV, or which most people didn't have, or something, something like you never saw it moving. You only ever saw the screenshots, and they conned everybody.
Yeah.
Once you actually got it in your hands, you was like, ugh, no. And I remember getting this on the Dreamcast. It must have been 2 years after Dreamcast was dead, and it was like I got Shenmue and I got Sonic Adventure, and I was so excited. It's like, yes, I finally get to play Sonic Adventure, the 9 out of 10 game from every magazine I've ever read in my life. And it was awful.
Yeah, I played the GameCube Deluxe Edition, which I think made some fixes. I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure it made some fixes. Not enough, probably, yeah. I kid you not, I played 40 hours of that game.
Oh my... Well, I spent about 20 hours in the Chow Garden.
Yeah, me too. No, that's where I spent a lot of time.
That was really cool.
And I unlocked all the Game Gear games, all the Sonic Game Gear games on the Deluxe Edition. That was why I wanted it. Actually, I didn't want it for the game.
No.
I wanted to play... all the Game Gear
looks
games.
So good in commercials and in magazines. It was like everyone was like, when are Sega gonna do Mario 64 but for Sonic? That's the only question people wanted to know, and this was supposed to be it. And it looks so good. And it was
And nowadays people have said, it isn't that great at all, and it hasn't aged well, and that's all very true.
Very true.
But I would argue that it really wasn't that good of a game even when it came out.
No.
So, yeah.
Now, you talked about this before, and I think you remember this game quite fondly. We have probably the last hurrah for the Dreamcast with Sonic Adventure 2.
Oh, I love this game. Yeah.
Why?
Why do I love this game?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I've never played Sonic Adventure 2, the original. I've only played Battle for the GameCube.
Okay.
The reason I love this game is because it came out in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't played a Sonic game in like 6 years. and I'd heard mediocre things about Sonic Adventure 2 for Dreamcast, and somebody got this game for me. It wasn't a game that I was looking to buy, but you know how it is. Like when you get a game and you're like, yeah, whatever. Like it's cool that I have it now, and I'll play it because I don't have anything else to play.
Yeah,
I was just shocked at how much I enjoyed it. Yes,
Right.
I saw the flaws, and I saw the glitches and the bugs.
it's better than Sonic Adventure.
But I just had such a fun time with it, and I liked the only stages I didn't like was finding the stupid emeralds with Knuckles,
Yeah.
and
That game
Rogue,
turned everybody
Rouge.
on Knuckles.
right. But I liked Sonic, I liked Shadow, and I liked
I like Shadow.
well, playing as him
Okay,
in that game.
okay.
And Robotnik, I liked playing as Robotnik, and I liked playing as Tails. The going back and forth between the light and dark stuff was kind of neat. I remember trying to get A ranks in different levels. I don't know. I liked it. It just really appealed to me where I was at the time.
Okay.
You know,
That's
I
fair
haven't
enough.
played it in years, so I'm sure it's not that good anymore.
It was quite a big deal. I believe I'm right in saying that Sonic Adventure 2 came out before Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast. I think I'm right in saying that. Dreamcast on the GameCube.
Yeah.
I believe this was first. So this was like the first Sonic game. Yeah, I am right. This is the first Sonic game on a Nintendo platform.
Right.
And it had, I think it was around launch. I'm sure it was around launch.
Yeah, it was early 2002.
Yeah.
Because I remember getting it during school year. I think it was my junior year. Yeah. So
It's crazy.
Crazy.
And then Sega gave up the ghost. They said, right, we ain't doing this hardware malarkey anymore, even though we've just done a really good job and no one bought it. Then they said, right, we're going to make a Sonic game for everybody. And it's going to come out on the GameCube, the PlayStation 2, and the Xbox. And I'm pretty sure they printed more copies of this game than any game ever in existence. I don't know how many they sold, but I swear you could probably walk into any game store in the UK, go into there and find a copy of this game somewhere. And that is Sonic Heroes. This game was everywhere.
this game sold gangbusters too. I'm pretty sure. I think it sold at least 1 million. Well, more on the GameCube for sure. But I know it sold. I just think it sold well on all of them. I think it sold like 4 or 5 million copies, which is why you've seen it everywhere.
I heard the route like the 5-6 million copies bandied about, and it's just like, why?
I didn't think this game was that bad, actually. and you will hear me a little bit later as we get into the later Sonic games. I am not an apologist, okay? I can attest when a Sonic game is like the worst.
Okay.
I actually did not mind this game at all. I played it through till the end, and I had fun with it. It wasn't great, but I had fun with it. So
Jesus.
Yep.
Okay, right. So we've actually got quite a few to keep getting through, so we're going to start skipping through these a little bit more. Now, next, we've got Shadow the Hedgehog.
no experience with that one.
Really?
None.
But I thought you liked Shadow.
No, I don't like him.
This was
I liked him in.
This is actually like a shoot 'em up almost, wasn't it? Like a 3D.
Yeah,
third
it just
person.
looked ridiculous.
Yeah.
It looks ridiculous.
Stupid
I
game.
couldn't do that. And
Okay.
then Sonic Riders, the
Oh yeah.
another racing game. I'll forget that too.
Yeah, that's it. Right. So the next main marquee was supposed to be the 15th year anniversary. This was 10 years ago, people. And this was supposed to be the big reboot. It's on brand new generation hardware, the 360 and PlayStation 3. I remember seeing the tech demo from E3, the physics, smashing the boxes up. It looked incredible. This is simply titled Sonic the Hedgehog, more known now as Sonic 06. And this is probably the worst game I've ever played.
Oh man.
But it sold like gangbusters again.
Yep. I mean, it helped that it came out, in 06 when there wasn't a lot for the newer systems. And especially the PS3. I think, was this a launch title? It was close.
It was very close. It's November 2006. So yeah.
Yeah, what a piece of crap.
It's just this is just where, like, apart from the game technically being a piece of crap, the story and the affiliation with the human race that Sonic now has is very close.
It's the glitches, the load times.
Oh
man. And like the weird,
I thought it was broken.
Side quests that the game asks you to do. Like
go fetch me this box.
Yeah,
no,
find
go
this
find
thing.
your freaking box. You're just standing there.
Wow. It's
it had like a hub world, didn't it? And,
it had a hub world because every game had hub worlds.
The graphics, how it looked. If you just took a picture, it was really good looking.
Oh yeah.
But then it started moving, and it was terrible. Now these next few games, I haven't got much of experience with, so it'd be interesting if you have. I've got Sonic and the Secret Rings.
Awful game.
Really?
I remember being
excited
about
it. It's a Wii exclusive, yeah?
It was a Wii exclusive, and I remember being excited about it. It got, at the time, if a Sonic game got decent reviews, I was interested.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I knew it probably wasn't going to top the old ones, but I didn't, I was like, well, decent reviews, it's better than nothing. I couldn't figure out the controls for this game. I mean, that was when 07. That was when
the Wii was taking over the world, man.
Right, and they wanted to make motion controls a huge part of the experience, and it was basically, from what I recall, I mean, it's been 9 years since I played it, but from what I recall, it's just a big on rails thing, and you kind of have to guide Sonic where he needs to go, and it controlled like garbage.
But again, it sold amazingly.
Yeah.
We're talking 4 or 5 million copies here, people. This is crazy. The next game also sold amazingly and is still, for some reason, stupidly expensive. This is one of the first games I brought my son. Not because I wanted to, it's because he wouldn't let go of it in the shop. This is Sonic Unleashed.
I've heard mixed things about this game.
It was nearly there.
Yeah.
The story was stupid. What's it? It's not a werewolf. It's a werehog. That's right. Wow. Well, there you go. That's all you really need to know. Sonic turns into a werehog. I can't quite remember why, but it didn't really need to happen. Just again, bad execution on the story front. Technically, kind of inept. Just no. But again, it sold amazingly. This one was on the Wii, the PlayStation 3, the Xbox 360, and the PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
I've never seen that version.
No. I bet the PS2 and the Wii are pretty similar, though.
That's true.
Yeah.
Next, we have another Wii exclusive. I completely forgot this one even existed till I looked at this list. Sonic and the Black Knight. What's that?
That's the sequel to Sonic and the Secret Rings.
Right.
And from what I've heard, it's even worse than that one.
Right.
I never played it. Didn't care to.
No.
I will say at this point, since we're nearing the end of the Sonic games, I do have an idea for a side blog. I'd be curious to hear if people are interested, but going through and maybe not so much reviewing as providing commentary on every Sonic game that's been released, just kind of going through and obviously it wouldn't. This is one of those, like, I try and post on Sega Does every week, 2 or 3 posts a week. This would be just at my leisure, it wouldn't be something that would. But yeah, if people are interested in that, let me know, because I mean, I'd be kind of interested in seeing.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, just the demise of. Also, we haven't really touched on this, but the portable Sonic games stayed pretty good, actually. Like, even through the downturn, like Sonic Advance 1, 2, and 3.
Sonic Rush was quite good.
Sonic Rush, yeah. Even I've heard that BioWare Sonic Chronicles for the DS was supposed to halfway decent. It was like a Sonic RPG,
Wow.
which I always wanted to play. And
Sonic
never had a
RPG, that'd be
chance.
pretty cool. Except they can't decide what lore they want to stick to. It's crazy.
It's true. Yeah.
Anyway, so next, apparently, even though I will put my hand on my heart and say I haven't played it, Sonic Colors was a massive return to form.
It was pretty fun, actually. It was the Sonic game I've liked the most since Heroes.
Wow.
I mean, there's a lot going on. It's very pretty, even for the Wii.
But it brings back side-scrolling Sonic for the first time in a long time, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
Obviously, there are some that are 3D and some that are 2D stages, but the 2D is obviously still in 3D, but obviously the camera's at the side. But from the looks of it, and I've never played it, but I've actually seen quite a bit on it. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely. I would agree that it's a return to form. I've actually heard is it the 3DS or just the DS? The DS. I've heard the DS version is better than the Wii version because they're different. But but I enjoyed the Wii version. I didn't play through the whole game, but I got enough of a taste for it. And the dubbing isn't too bad. Like,
No.
you know, it just has.
No, this was when they actually changed voice actors for Sonic. They ditched the guy that they had since the Dreamcast era, and they got this new guy, and I think he's still doing it. At least he was. No, he's not. No, he doesn't do it in Boom. He did it all the way up to Lost Worlds, which we'll get to in a minute. But I actually quite like this guy. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, he's not too over the top. He's
No.
not trying to be, hip or whatever. He has a good voice for Sonic, and Tails isn't obnoxious, which he normally is obnoxious to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was an all around decent Sonic game. And the game I'm assuming we're gonna get to next, Sonic Generations.
Yeah.
That I quite enjoyed.
Me too.
For the PS3. Surprised at how much I enjoyed it. It's again not a perfect game, but the nostalgic feels are real in that one. Just switching between 2D chubby Sonic and 3D.
How good did he look, though?
I know.
Why didn't they just go,
So
hey, this guy
cool.
still looks pretty cool. Let's use him.
Right. I know. It's so cool. Another one I didn't beat, but I enjoyed the time I played it and really liked the style. And it kind of felt like, I was like, oh, if Sega just keeps this up, because Sonic Colors had just come out, and
Sega
Sega
kind of
keeps
looked like
this
it was
up.
getting on a good turn there, didn't it?
Yep.
And then we get to Sonic Lost Worlds. Now, Sonic Lost Worlds, I will say I like Sonic Lost Worlds.
Another mixed title. I've only heard mixed things about it. Yeah.
I like it. It is a Sonic reboot. It's a self-contained Sonic reboot.
Okay.
Have you ever played it?
No, I bought it for my friend for Christmas, and he really liked it, actually. So I was glad. I was glad it did good.
Just takes Sonic on his own and Tails, and there is Knuckles and that in there, but you don't play as him. I'm pretty sure you don't. You only ever play as Sonic, and there's Robotnik as Robotnik, or Eggman. We'll get to that another day. And he acquires the control of these 6 overlords called the Deadly Six, and they're actually really well designed, bad guys. A set of 6 bad guys, and they all have different personality traits. Like one's like a really nervous wreck, like a drug addict almost. One's like a big beaming eye, and the big guy, and one's a skinny guy, and one's the fat guy. There's like an overweight, chubby one, and there's a girl as well, and they all have these certain traits. It's a great premise, the best premise for a Sonic game ever. And the graphics are really nice. They don't go over the top. They're kind of minimalist, but they're really, really, really well done. It just doesn't control quite right.
Yeah.
And what's really annoying is I've got it on the Wii U, which is the version I'm talking about, and there's the 3DS version. If the Wii U version controlled like the 3DS version did, it would be brilliant.
Yeah.
The 3DS version controls exactly how you expect Sonic to control, like how he moves with your thumb on the stick, and when you let go, how he stops. It's very hard to explain, but if you played the game, you'd know what I meant. There's various different kinds of lock-on that you can do, which is a new kind of thing. There is a run button, so you can actually control Sonic's speed, which makes a massive difference. It's just he doesn't move right, and I tried to love the game so hard. Really, really tried to like. This is good, isn't it? This is really, it is, and it is good, and you can muster through it. But there are some times in the game when you're playing it and you go, I didn't do that wrong. The game should have done that better. And you are correct in saying that. And it's such a shame.
That is a shame.
You've got to play it one day, Dylan. You'll see exactly what I meant. There is so much potential there.
Yeah, I always wanted to try it. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's still super cheap now. It's like $20 new.
It's worth $20 to play.
Yeah,
and keep. It really is. Yeah.
Okay.
It was so close. But what really annoys me is at the same time that this came out, they were working on completely rebooting the franchise with Sonic Boom. So, however well this game did, it was never going to be like, oh, if it does well, then we'll carry on doing this. That was never their intention. This was just like a placeholder.
Yeah.
Which is really annoying, because Sonic Boom came out, and it was terrible.
Yeah, that one I've never played, but you actually bought it, right?
Yep, I bought it. I got it. And I let my son play it for a day, and I said, you ain't playing this crap. And no, I didn't. But no, it's... Wow, that is a bad game. Actually, not actually developed by Sega, though.
Right, it's not by Sonic Team whatsoever. It's
no.
Big Red Button.
Yeah, they're still around. But... So I think like Sonic Lost Worlds, as of today, that's probably the last Sonic game you could pick up and say, yeah, that's okay. That's okay. But as you can tell from our talkings this last hour and a half, 3D Sonic never really worked.
No, because he's always been stop and go. When you look back on his 2D adventures, stop and go, and occasionally, he'd have a point where he's just blasting through lots of speed and all that. But the problem is how the character was originally designed. In a 3D platformer, you really need fluid motion, constant fluid motion, and Sonic as a character just has never really had that. They've tried to give him...
When you stick him on rails, that's not a game.
And that too, right.
Yeah.
You're not really controlling him. It might look neat, but you're not watching a cartoon. You're trying to play something. So kudos to Sega for not giving up on their beloved mascot, but at the same time... And now they're doing like iOS stuff, mobile stuff, and I haven't really like looked into much of that. I haven't heard good things though. Again, it's kind of like, will there ever be a rainbow for Sonic? I don't know.
I don't know. Valve will need to buy him. No,
something needs to happen.
Nintendo need to buy the rights for Sonic.
It would be awesome if Nintendo just bought Sega and Atlas. That would be awesome. Wow. And Capcom and Konami and Konami's properties.
Yeah, just
if they did all
rights.
that, then the NX would be just the most amazing system ever, with all of our favorites.
All of your favorites. Well, the question is, people, how well does Dylan know his favorite Sonics? It's that time. It's time for the Game Over Game. Now, the Game Over Game is the game that you've got to guess which game the Game Over came from, okay?
Okay.
I love saying that. Right. The first one, I hope I've done these clips correct. We have 4 here.
4. Okay.
Okay,
I
now-
think 4 is attainable.
Yeah. Now, do you want to start easy and get harder, or do you want to dive straight in?
Let's just do it. Let's just dive in.
There you go. Very strange one. Listen to the quality.
Is that Sonic R?
No.
No. Well, it sounds very like early 90s, but
These are all 90s Sonics.
okay. I mean, maybe Sonic CD.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that was the
done.
only one I could think of. And I actually don't know if I've ever gotten... If I've gotten a game over, it's been
Yeah.
years. So
You press reset straight away.
yeah.
Okay, next one. These next two are going to be very interesting. Okay, you ready?
Okay.
There you go.
Man, the Genesis Sonic game overs are pretty similar, if I remember correctly. Is it Sonic 1? Because it sounds like Sonic 1.
It is Sonic 1.
Oh, good. Okay.
Not bad. Okay, next one. There you go. There is a very, very slight difference.
I think I may have heard the slight difference, but
Okay.
is it Sonic 3?
Sonic 2.
Sonic 2. Dang it.
Dang.
Man.
Okay. Last one.
Okay.
Damn you, Genesis.
That was Sonic 3. Yes?
No.
No.
Think of a game that's trying too hard. Just like that clip.
I guess 3D Blast?
Bingo.
Okay.
Well done.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That one sounded super familiar, like I'd heard it a lot. So, but I don't remember. Again, that's another one I
Yeah.
don't remember dying that much on. So,
Ah. Well
Yeah.
done. So everybody, that was the Game Over game. Yeah.
yay.
So that was our dive into our personal recollections of the Sonic series. Thank you very much, Dylan. That was very entertaining.
Yes, thank you, sir.
That was good.
And if you have, you, by you, I mean you who are listening, have any awesome Sonic memories in honor of his 25th birthday,
25.
please feel free to leave them in the comments and we will read them on episode 41.
That guy's got to grow up, get a mortgage, stop spiking his hair up, get a job.
Get a job. Yeah, Sonic Boom's not cutting it, brother.
No. Tried to go all Aborigine wearing scarves and duct tape. Ain't gonna work. Get a job.
Yes, maybe perhaps at a vegan pizzeria.
Yeah.
He kind of looks has that vibe.
He does.
maybe I don't know.
Wow. I like that. Episode 40. It was nice to kick off with a good Sonic retrospective. What is your favourite Sonic game then, Dylan? I'm
Really
going
depends.
to guess Sonic Adventure 2.
No, it
No.
really depends on the day. I know it's nostalgia talking, but I just love the first one. The first one has such a
Purity.
and it doesn't feel like any of the others. Like even
Designed
Sonic
to be
2.
a game. wasn't it?
Right.
It's not a gimmick. It's designed right. We need to make a kick-ass game with a kick-ass character. Let's really try, or we're gonna lose. And
exactly.
Is what they came up with.
And Sonic 2 is great, but Sonic 2 got. I mean, who really likes going through some of those zones? Like, I hate Metropolis Zone.
Yeah, it's a bit. Yeah.
And I mean, Sonic 1 had Labyrinth Zone, which isn't fun because you have to keep him alive with air bubbles, but I mean...
Oh yeah, he also needs swimming lessons.
Yeah, Sonic could use it.
Really bad. He's one of the only video game characters that's blue that can't swim. You know, he's terrible.
Yeah. But thank goodness they got the bubble shield in the third game, right? That was a great little
That was
add-on.
another good thing about free, the power-ups.
Yeah.
Never really had power-ups before now. Brilliant. I mean, you could run fast and get a slight shield, but like the fireball and that's great.
Oh, I know. What about you, Sam? Well, you already said the third one.
I like the
right?
third one.
Yeah.
And probably after that. Probably Lost World.
Wow, really?
Yeah. That was so close, man. Seriously, you got to play it. I think you'll understand. It was so close.
Well, you and I do share a lot of opinions on kind of random games. Not even like the games we talk about on the podcast, but like just random ones that universally are liked, like Last of Us. And
it was so close. I mean, I know, like, probably like... Well, actually, no, actually. It's probably not a better game, but no, it was so close. So close. Anyway.
Okay.
Until next time, Dylan.
Until next time.
Happy birthday, Sonic.
Oh, happy birthday, Sega.
Sega.